Welcome to the Heat versus the World podcast. And now, stand up and make some noise for your host, Joel Jacob.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joel Jacob, and you can follow me on Twitter at JoelKJacob_. And with me always, I got some guests. First, we got Miami Flash PE. Say what's up to the people, Flash.
What's going on, everybody? Follow me at Miami Clutch PE on Twitter. See a bunch of Heat takes, either good ones or bad ones. And anyways, you follow me and I'll follow you right back.
And then following him, we got Mr. Jimmy Buckets. Not the real Jimmy Buckets, but still someone fun to have on the pod. Say what's up to the people, Jimmy.
We got an impersonator in the house. What's up, guys? It's Jimmy Buckets on Twitter. Not the real one, not our MVP, but it's Jimmy Buckets with 4 Z's on Twitter. Follow me, I'll follow you right back.
And then right after that, we have a new addition to the pod. Say what's up to Heat vs. the World audience. Our newest member, Jules. Say what's up.
Hi, guys.
And then following that, we have a very special guest coming back for another episode from 790 The Ticket. You can catch him on the Tobin and Leroy show. He's the main leader of the JIMVP propaganda. It's great to have you back, man. Say what's up to the Heat vs. the World audience, Mr. Brendan Tobin.
Thanks for having me back, guys. Enjoyed it last time, so I'm glad to do it again.
Man, thank you, man.
Happy to have you.
So without further ado, let's get started. So let's talk about this most recent game for the Heat. As a lot of you guys know, the Heat ended up losing to the Nuggets and really was kind of a discouraging game to watch. I mean, it's crazy to think that you stayed up till 10 o'clock just to watch it. Let's just go around and hear you guys' opinion. So we'll start with you, Flash. How do you feel about last night's game?
I mean, last night's game was basically a carbon copy of the Suns game, wasn't it? Really good first quarter. Really good first quarter by the Heat. They showed the defensive firepower that they have, the elite defense that they've been playing, and then just fell off a cliff completely for the rest of the game. It didn't help that Michael Porter Jr. had the game he was having. It seemed like they didn't miss a shot. Like not just him. It felt like the entire team didn't miss the entire game. They ended up shooting they ended the game shooting at about 60%, if not like very, very close to it. Oh no, they actually went down. I'm looking at the thing. They went down to 53, but it certainly doesn't feel like 53. Jokic had his game. Like, I didn't even realize until I looked at the stat sheet now that he had a triple-double. So that's something I really didn't even know. Aaron Gordon was playing well. Everybody just played well for the Nuggets. And for us, we had Jimmy, who only scored 13 and 9, but he had his 3 steals. He played really good defense as always. He started off a little slow because his ankle didn't, I don't know if it's right or not, but he kind of started picking it up when he started like just flying all over the court for steals and dunks. Bam, after everybody thought the sky was falling because he only took 6 field goal attempts, I think he came back with 16 field goal attempts. He only had 3 field goal attempts in the second half, which isn't ideal, but at least 16 is better than 6. But just the problem here is the team the bench has not been good. Tyler can't be scoring 5 points a game and expect us to do anything. And plus, we didn't have Goran, who people say he's been falling off and he's not that good, but probably would have been a hell of a lot better than Gabe Vincent. So yeah, that's kind of my like overview of the game yesterday. It was a disappointing loss, like just 2 in a row and having to stay up to 10 o'clock to finish watching at midnight at 1 o'clock. These beatdowns at the end, not ideal.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Jimmy Buckets?
Yeah, I hate these late games. It messes up my sleep schedule. It's all right, but it's just kind of an expected loss. It just sucks that it occurred the same exact way as the Phoenix loss. looked to me like great first quarter, defensive and offensive, not terrible in the offensive game. Lack of 3-point shooting, lack of Tyler Hero, defense not there the second half. I'm not sure what the organization is supposed doing right now as far as lineups because it looks very weird to me, especially when I know everybody wants to hear this, so I'm just going to go ahead and get this out there so I don't have to talk about it again. But Dwayne Dedman played, I think, 5 or 6 minutes. He had 5 rebounds, assists, 2 blocks, and 3 points. So, as far as to get Precious back up, I know that's not going to be our problem solver. I know it's not going to be the end all, but as of right now, we're looking like a first or second round exit. So unless Oladipo goes and bathes in miracle water, I don't know what we're going to do. So that's my take.
And then Mr. Tobin, what about you?
I think you guys made a lot of good points on the game. Definitely the frustration was how similar it was to Phoenix in that you, you felt good for the early going of it. And, it kind of just all fell off a lot. Both had really bad offensive droughts and bad second quarters. I think the only thing I'd really add to it is I didn't think at the start of the road trip, after seeing how well they played against Portland, I didn't feel like they were going to miss Victor Oladipo like they did because Vic had such a great game before he got hurt. I mean, it really was such a great sign. But I think we're seeing the trickle-down effect of what he could have meant for the team because I think that coming out of last night, it really wasn't a very unfamiliar feeling with what the season's been. There's been so many of these games, it feels like we complain about the same things, the same critiques. I know people are getting mad at Bam for saying the same things after games. And, you really just look around and it's kind of the same problems. Like, Tyler's inconsistency, lack of bench help, getting muscled up on teams that are a little bit bigger. And so even though Vic's not a big guy, it still I think spreads everything out a little bit. It lets you, it takes pressure off Bam, it takes pressure off of Jimmy, and not having that extra, reliability there of a guy of his talents because of his injury, I think maybe is showing itself a little bit more than I thought it would, especially after how the road trip started off.
For sure. So, as we move forward, a question that one of the fans wanted to ask. I wanted to ask you guys and see how you feel is what gives you hope that this Heat team is just going to be able to flip a switch or go on this deep playoff run? So, let's see. Jimmy Buckets, you want to answer that first?
That's a funny first question to put me on the spot because that's almost like an oxymoron right now to me. That's really funny. I don't know. Maybe I know we're both religious, and like I said before, Depot and holy water, but maybe we'll have a second coming, and some higher or divine power will help us out because I don't think the team that we have constructed right now is going to do anything besides the first or second round. In my book, unless Oladipo comes back, and even if he comes back, he would be a shell. But we've heard no news. Of course, we're not going to hear any news from the Heat, but no news and no anything. So we don't know. And even if he comes back, who knows what it'll help. Ariza has been so much better for our team as far as our team as a whole, and he's played so well. But the thing is, you really can't even tell a difference that Ariza is there, even though he's there and putting up great all around numbers, great purrs, great stats. He's playing amazing, and on both sides of the ball. And one thing that baffles me is you cannot tell a difference. I mean, I know we don't have a Oladipo right now, but even with Ariza in the starting lineup, I can't tell a difference. So I don't know if that's just me being a stat nerd or me being a Ariza fan or anything, but I'm not sure. Also, Heroes played like crap, and Dragic is a shell of himself. So we need something. I just don't see us getting past round 1 or 2 as far as I am an optimistic Heat fan. But I'm just like,
And then what about you, Tobin?
Yeah, I'm still not at this. I'm still not at like a panic level with where they're at. I still think that they have, two star players who translate the playoffs really well in their ability to switch, their ability to defend. The game's going to slow down. With Boron, I think the thing that's going to help in the playoffs that's just not there in the regular season is the amount of rest that there's going to be. That's a huge, huge change for them, is that they're going to have some time to game plan opponents and all that type of stuff. So, as opposed to these games where they're kind of getting blitzed by like Joe Schmo off the bench, like that I don't think is going to go from game to game. I do think that like if somebody has a freak game where they blow up, I do think that they can scheme to take some things out of. So yeah, I think that there's still a level where you can give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, just because before they got to Orlando last year, a lot of us were frustrated with just how big a difference and what a stark difference it was in this team between who they were at home and who they were on the road, and people just couldn't figure it out because they looked like two completely different teams. And a lot of that changed when they got to the bubble. But even the bubble had some of its struggles before the playoffs started. So I still think that to a degree they're a little bit better than their record says they are. They have dealt with a lot of stuff this year. Um, and it just is what it is. Like, it's been a year where I think that there's some teams that have gotten to benefit from just getting through some stuff a little bit cleaner. Some teams are playing for the regular season a little bit more. And Miami, I don't really feel like they have. I don't feel like Jimmy's had a lot of panic over it. Like, here's tone after games. He's not like this, I think a lot of people would probably have the impression after a bad season he'd be like this very angry guy. He's very even keeled. He does not panic. He's taking this all stride really well. I don't really think they care about seedings. I think they'd like to avoid the play-in round. Um, but yeah, I'm still optimistic that this team can still look a little different in the playoff series than they do in the regular season.
For sure. And then another question that I want to bring up and the reason why I want to bring it up is because it seems like everyone mentions how Miami needs this, they need that. Everyone has their own opinions about the needs this Heat team needs to keep an eye on. So with that being said, a question I want to ask you guys is there any needs that need to be filled that the Heat can address right now looking at this current free agency market? So I'm not talking about like this upcoming off season. I'm talking about like players who Miami can sign right now. Who wants to start first?
I'll go. So I know we've seen a report, I think it was yesterday, about Isaiah Thomas being a name that Miami's interested in. Maybe a guard just to fill that 15 spot that could produce something. But I don't really think what the Heat need is outside help, especially with what's available. I think they need some deep soul searching because some not recently, but I've also seen some of the games are like have been just effort losses where they just don't show any effort on offense. Instead of that crisp ball movement you see, is just sometimes just standing around or just, for example, the other day I saw Trevor Ariza isolation play, which was weird to me. So it's just, I think it's just some soul searching that he needs to do into what they want. Um, I'm happy that we have a player and we have veterans on this team like Jimmy and Goran that can handle the load in the playoffs. I still think Goran can, because he seems like last year he seemed to have that ability to flip the switch when it came to the playoffs. So I'm happy there. I don't think we really, with what's out there in the free agent market, I know we can still sign somebody because the deadline was only for wave players to waive the players. I don't think we need. I mean, Isaiah Thomas would be cool, but because he can score. But than that, I don't really see a name out there that's even worth pursuing.
What about you, Jimmy?
Yeah, I agree completely with Miami Clutch B. I don't see a name really worth pursuing out there.
Nope.
RHJ got picked up. There's really not. Cousins got picked up. Other people got picked up. There's really not a name out there that stands out to me at all. Isaiah Thomas, that's okay, but that's just offense. That's no defense. I'm taller than he is by like 3 inches. So I mean, it's if he can play in the NBA. God dang it, give me a little bit of speed and maybe I can too. But no, I don't really see anything else out there.
And then Tobin, what about you?
Does Michael Beasley tickle your fancies? Looking really good on IG.
Only if we're 420 friendly, my friend.
Nah, it's
I
we're at
love
the point.
Beasley.
Yeah,
Bro,
like
I won't Beasley. I mentioned this in the last pod. I was like, if the Heat only were 420 friendly, we could have Michael Beasley, a 6'10 power forward who loves us, loves our system, and would fit well. I'm not just saying that. He would fit well. Right, Tobin? You know more than I do. Beasley would fit well with this team on a reserve unit, correct?
I love Michael Beasley. Like I'd take him in a heartbeat. He's one of my favorite players. I've always got a special place in my heart for him. I don't know how much Mo wants to go to that well again. Um, so I don't think it's likely. Honestly, I think that they are at this point right now where they're probably gonna do what they can to work Deadman in a little bit. But I don't. Spo said this. He said when they made the signing that he's at the same place where Trevor and Andre is. I don't know if that's true because I mean Trevor basically walked right out of the trade where he wasn't playing and right into playing for the Heat and playing big minutes. Like they went and trusted Trevor Ariza right away. And Devin's been here a couple days, and it took until the second blowout to even give him just a little bit of run to get familiar with basketball again. So I don't know how long that whole process is going to take, and I don't know, how many matchups he's going to even be busted out with during the playoffs. Quite frankly, I mean, they're fortunate that Trevor's been as impactful as he has with the fact that they basically got him for nothing because Myers was done for the year.
Yeah, they got Trevor for a middle schooler, like basically, and that was a great pickup. Like what an
We
incredible pickup. And
we
and
know that Sam
Mohart
Presti
Mohart
loves
was
his middle school prospects.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then, and because then, looking at the needs, you could say this team has to look at. One thing I want to bring up as sort of a question is because this goes to you, Clutch, you, Flash, because a lot of people have been talking about, especially in the live chat on the Five Reasons channel, how, oh, we need a big, why are you guys not bringing that up? So, is there anything you want to tell the people who are going to listen to this and wonder why we still haven't talked about how we need another big?
I love how this is directed at me because uh, I don't think we need a big. I'm a big fan of your show, Tobin, so I know Leroy would hate me for this.
Oh
I don't
Jesus.
I don't think we need a big. I think people are too obsessed with this big man thing, and I think when Devin got signed, I tweeted, hopefully the people that have that big man fetish are satisfied because Miami, I don't see the big as a need because I think we have one of the top paint defenses in the league. Our problem is technique on rebounding because we just give up everything when it comes to rebounding, I guess. And the problem is just because I think it all comes down to the scheme of the switch defense because a lot of the time Bam ends up on the top of the key, so he can't get to that rebound. So it's down to Tyler or Jimmy to snag it down, Duncan. So I think the problem about rebounding is more of a scheme thing, just because of teams are starting to figure that out, and they pull the big guys out. They pull Bam all the way out. They pull when his pressure's out there. They pull him out because of the switch defense, and so when it's rebound time, there's an open lane for a player like yesterday, for example, Aaron Gordon to just come back and slam it. I'm I hate to be that guy. Like I I actually like Dwayne Dedman, but I didn't think he would see a single minute for the at least for the first 2 weeks, and I think that would have been the case if we didn't get blown out. Thanks to the Heat for that because I had to change my profile picture because of a bet. Uh, but Jesus, I don't find the need for a big man to be as big as people think. I think we would have probably looked for a wing more to help with the switch defense, a big wing, a mobile 6'9", 6'10" guy, but mobile, not a 7-footer who's just going to stand in the paint with his hands up because he doesn't fit the defense. Because you're going to bring Dwayne Dedman out on the switch. He's going to be guarding the perimeter just like everybody else, and he won't be able to get a rebound. He played really good yesterday in those garbage minutes because let's be honest, people weren't trying anymore, and the switch defense and all that they weren't trying to exploit like they did it earlier in the game. So Dedman was always around there, but yeah, I'm against it. Like I don't like it, but I see why people think that would solve anything, but I don't really see it. Yeah, that's me.
All right, yeah, because I just needed you to speak out on that because then there's gonna be people who's gonna be in the comments being like, "Oh, how are we gonna do against these teams and that?" And I know people are especially heated on this topic, especially after last night when we got out rebounded like crazy. So thank you for answering that.
God, I
And
can't
then,
wait to see the comments.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
so
I mean, hey, listen, we did get out rebounded, but Devin was the only player in our team with a plus minus other than KZ Akpala, and I believe he had 6 or 5 rebounds in 5 or 6 minutes, one of the two, along with a couple points, couple assists, a block. I believe Devin should have had Precious's minutes, and also I believe that Spo's play calling need or in lineup rotations needs to take something different. I'm not sure what it is. I know we play zone this game, we don't play zone this game. We rotate this lineup this game, we rotate that lineup that game. It's just like it seems like inconsistency to me, and it seems like the more that we play, especially on road trips, especially on back to backs, that we look more tired and more out of it than our normal system than we do at home or after being prepared or after this or after that. But I understand we just got a new player that was a major focal point of our offense, and also just lost him in the same instance. So that could also be a hard hit on the team as far as how they're game planning and stuff and how they, operate and initiate the offense and defense on both sides, or offensive defense on both sides. I'm not sure, but that's just my stuff. Throw it over to Tobin.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of that. I just don't think that I just think back to those days of the big three where people were so obsessed with going to get a center, and we were like going crazy over Eric Dampier coming here and Eddie Curry and just
Greg
Greg
Oden.
Oden, like all of these things, and like
Josh
none of it ever
McRoberts.
yeah, none of it ever mattered. They always ended up playing, LeBron, Dwayne, Chris, and then two shooters. It was always the same thing, and we obsess over this. And when it's going to come down to those important minutes, I mean, most likely at the end of games in the playoffs, it's going to be Jimmy, Bam, Tyler, Andre Iguodala, and then I guess depending on Victor's health or Goron's health or whoever's there, it's not going to be another big. I don't even care if it's Joel Embiid out there. They're not going to go that route. It's just not how Eric Spoelstra operates. He doesn't roll with that where he's going to go with two bigs that can't shoot or space the floor. I mean, maybe Elite gets in some kind of shape and is more in flux. But I don't think that they see him there yet. Maybe he's in a matchup they like a lot better, but I think we get crazy about all of this stuff, and we're looking for some elixir, and you think that like hey, maybe somebody would walk around like Chris Anderson. Chris Anderson was like below like 10-day contract guy who came in. He was amazing with the team. He gave you those 15 to 20 minutes. That was always incredible impact. The guy never missed a shot.
Your
That
call.
was always around the rim. Yeah, like it's just I just don't think that move is out there for him. They got you know, there are two things they could really hope for. One is that Victor is going to be able to play in the playoffs. We'll see. Um, and then, you know, really, I think the other big thing is they're three shooters, and the guys putting in that category are Goran, Tyler, and Duncan. Those guys were so all world and made the offense amazing last year, and they need them to be that if they're going to be on that they were last year. I think those are because you have your two best players who aren't guys who get the outside shot. They penetrate, they put pressure on the defense. You know, they get to the free throw line, and they have to set things up for those guys. And if that happens, I think that we're not going to be thinking about who the big men's are and who's this guy who's coming in who's playing a token 10 minutes to give them some relief. I just think we get way too crazy about this stuff.
Right.
You're right.
1,000%.
Yeah, 100% right. That's perfect.
Mm-hmm. For sure. You know, and then moving forward, you know, aside from all the needs, so let's now like focus on players that we're working with right now. And one of those players is none other than Victor Oladipo. So we didn't talk about this in the last pod. However, we're going to talk about it here. Not too long ago, as a lot of you guys know, Oladipo got injured in the game against the Lakers. And, you know, a lot of people are worried, you know, because there haven't been too much reports out, and we don't know if the silence is a good thing, if it's a bad thing, and a lot of people are thinking that it's indeed a bad thing. You know, so I want to get y'all thoughts on this. So we'll start with you, Jimmy Buckets. How do you feel about this Oladipo injury right now?
I'm Heat Nation optimally, or what is the word? Like optimistic. I'm like 100% optimistic on this, or I'm hoping for the best, or whatever the words are. I can't even think about it. You just threw me on the spot. Like, and with Vic, that's a situation I'm like so in touch with, but. I hope that everything works out for the best, but it's his history with his knee and his quad. It does not look good. Also, with our shady reporting, which we're notorious for, it does not look good. I can't find any dirt on anything. I've been digging in every hole I can, and I cannot find anything about it from the organization, from my friends, from people who are intertwined with the organization. I can't find anything out about it. So I can't find anything more than Twitter can find about it. So I'm optimistic as a diehard Heat fan, but I'm worried as a actual optimist. So I'm or like a realist, not an optimist, a realist. It's just it doesn't make sense a lot of the stuff that's happened to him, and I just hope he's okay. And maybe he'll take like a vet man next season, and we can get Kyle Lowry. Y'all go on. Y'all go on.
That's not happening. I don't think that's happening either way.
No,
Victor's at least
never, never.
he's gonna get a cool 15 at least.
A cool 15, yeah.
Right. So here are the facts that we know about Victor Oladipo. Right. X-rays came back negative, which is kind of obvious. He kind of knew he didn't break anything. MRI, I saw somewhere, and I'm pretty sure it's legit too. It showed no structural damage to the knee, which is good. I think that's what made the Heat put out the diagnosis, at least in the report, of knee soreness. And we know that Oladipo is seeking a second opinion. So that's what we know. But normally in these situations, I would say no news is good news, but this is the Miami Heat we're talking about. And the Heat don't tell us when things are drastically wrong. We thought, I'm pretty sure we thought Justice Winslow injury was going to be a couple weeks, and he didn't play till the next year. So it's kind of like you gotta find the balance of being a Heat fan and with the trauma of what the Heat have done before with the injury reports, and just think of what it is now. I think Oladipo, I want to say it's not that bad because of the way he took off. He took off and finished the dunk. If it was something terribly wrong, you saw what happened with Jamal Murray. He could not even get high enough to attempt the shot, right? He went straight down like a sack of potatoes.
It tore on
So
the way up.
yeah, so and Oladipo got hurt on the way up, but he was still strong enough to finish the dunk.
No, he
That's
didn't
something
tear it.
that gives me that's something that gives me positivity about this. I do think we'll see Victor again, and I actually do think, and this is not me being a doctor or a professional or anything, but my gut's telling me that Victor, we might see him at least a couple of games before the season ends, and he'll be ready for the playoffs. But that's maybe this is me being hopeful. Tobin, I know that you've been around in the Zoom interviews for the Heat with the players and Spo. What sense do you get from them about Victor's injury?
Man, they're not even touching it. Like you guys alluded to, they don't go anywhere near it. I know. I think Barry Jackson like tried his hardest to like kind of rope Spo in, and it's
Spo called him out. Spo called him out.
yeah, Spo's like a pro goalie, man. You can't get past him on that, and I don't really know. I know like there was all that stuff. I'm sure you guys all saw like people saying on Twitter, oh, they heard it was bad and stuff like that. I don't know. I have no insight on it. I don't know where we stand with Vic. I think that if it was season ending, I think we'd probably know already. Even as secretive as the Heat are, I don't think they're going to hold something like that close to the vest. I think that would have already just been known just because they probably would have already scheduled surgery for something like that. I think the thing with Vic that we do have to keep in mind is he is a free agent. He is coming off an injury that he already was kind of resting. It's that same leg that he had the quad issue with. So I do think that it's fair for him to get the evaluation, make sure everything's cool because he does have a contract coming up in the off season, and I think it's going to be a pretty big deal that if if this is going to be something where he can't play in the playoffs, he's in the city that he wants to be in, but how much is the Heat going to invest in him if they think he's damaged goods at this point? So I think that's all getting played into this as to why we don't. I don't think this is just a Heat being secretive for secret's sakes. I think that there is layers to this, and I think some of it comes from the Oladipo side as well. Is that he's trying to figure out for himself, like how much do I want to push this going into a year where he was obviously hoping to get a max extension or a max new deal.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
at this point, the only way that Oladipo is getting a max extension or anything close to that is if he comes back, plays, and
Yeah.
dominates the playoffs.
I still don't think
Because
that's happened. He's
yeah,
injury prone though. His injury history is crap. But it's
because
complete crap.
right now, like I said, he's worth a cool 15 million. Like you went from a max extension
Yeah,
possibility to
I was guessing 12 million, so you're right on page. Yeah,
yeah,
100.
and I don't know, Victor, if he feels he can go, I think he will. Because if he wants to make that big money and stay where he always wanted to be, I think he ultimately needs to show it on the court. Needs to show that he can be durable at least during a playoff, and show that this what happened a week or so ago was just a fluke, and it's not going to happen again because he's fine or whatever. That's what he needs to show. So that's also a reason why I see him playing again this year, because that if he's gonna get that money, he's gonna have to play and show it. If he doesn't play and
Yeah.
show it, he's not gonna
Oh, you're
sniff
right.
anything
You're
close to
right.
that.
You're right. You're right 1,000,000% on that. That's amazing. Yeah, you're right. That's perfect. Like perfect. He's got to show himself. It's his contract year. I think he may have been silly for turning down that deal from Houston, but it is what it is. People do that. Like DeMarcus Cousins has done that. Like there's a lot of other players have done that and then got hurt or have injury history and got hurt and turned down big contracts because they didn't want to be with those set teams. Then arrive on the teams they really like. Oh, Isaiah Thomas would be another great example. But he didn't choose where he went. But it's like very good players. They have these big contracts and they get injured and they go to the teams. And a lot of times they're teams they want to be on and they get injured again. And it's like, what do we do? This is a great player, but I mean, a great player, especially on defense, and can facilitate the ball alongside Jimmy and be a second facilitator on offense, which is rare, which we do not have because that's not Kendrick or Gora, no matter how much anybody in Heat Nation thinks that is. That's not that. And so I feel like losing Oladipo really stinks, and I hope we get him back. I pray to God every night, like pray for Depot. That's gonna be a new hashtag. Hey, Tobin, instead of
Yep,
JIMVP, let's get pray for Depot
I'm for it.
or something along those lines. You know,
It's a workshop. I like it.
yeah, yeah. You mess with it in your head and come out with something, and we'll retweet it.
Yeah, I'm still hoping for everything to be okay with Oladipo so he can sign with the Heat next year and be this defensive beast. Because I'm already working on hashtag Oladipo.
And we got him cheap in his bird rights too, so why not? Let's roll.
Yeah.
And then, one silver lining though is that, one thing with the media is that, and it's funny because you joked about this, Tobin, on a recent show, was that they were keeping Goran away from the mics. But lately, he
Yeah.
has been hopping on. I know he mentioned about how, like, what was it that, something, what was it that Oladipo would have to probably do is wear a neck brace, and it's something that he could play through. So the fact that he didn't really spill the beans about anything bad, similar to what we saw last year with Bam and Nunn being out with COVID, I mean, maybe dude is okay. He didn't spill the beans on anything.
Yeah,
So
if something was
gotta,
seriously wrong, I think Goran would have told us about it.
yeah.
He can't help himself. He's just too
Yo,
honest,
he's
and
so funny, bro.
he just is. He
If I'm
is. But
Get
honest.
out of here. Get out of here.
the thing that's fun, no, like I remember that I asked him about the brace because he had a big fight with the Heat about wearing the brace on his knee because he had a bad knee injury a couple of years back. The year before going to last, and he still isn't super comfortable. He doesn't love playing with it, but he's just like you just tolerate, you just do it now. Um, and so I think that was just the idea of it is that if Oladipo does come back, the Heat are big on wearing braces for your knees. I think Chris Bosh was another one where they wanted to wear braces on his knees and go with this extra. The Heat love gear. They love knee pads. They love braces. They love getting all this stuff on guys. They used to have I think fights with Whiteside about wearing like pads during games and stuff like that. So that's kind of the backstory on the whole brace thing. As far as if he's able to go, and definitely I think Oladipo with a brace would be better than no Oladipo at all for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to throw this out there. What if LeChoke was out of the situation and D Wade played with Bosch, him and Jimmy? I don't care who the fifth is. It can be Duncan, it can be Hero, it can be Battier, it can be Ray Allen, it can be whoever. But let's say LeChoke just somehow was out of this. That's
Let's
a
show.
terrible. That's a terrible take. But like, I was just thinking about that when there was. I was like, damn, what if Bosch and Bam played together? That would be insane. Like they would be like the two Spider-Mans pointing at each other.
I mean, this Heat team right now with Chris Bosh playing the four is a championship team. Like,
hundred
there's no
percent,
doubt about it in my mind
100%.
because everybody's saying we need a big that can play defense, that can shoot the three,
That's
plays well
Chris
with
Bosh.
Bam, and that's exactly
That's
describing
Chris
Chris Bosh.
Bosh. Yeah, that's a exact description of him. 100%.
Yeah,
And then let's see.
Amazing. Like
And then another thing, just we should most likely win this game, but still, let's quickly talk about this upcoming game. We got Heat against the Wolves tomorrow. Well, one thing that's funny you brought up, Tobin, earlier was that there's always going to be that Joe Schmo who hops in and they just bowl out against us. And of course, us, whenever we refer to them as being that type of player, we refer to them as being a random scrub Heat killer. So with that, I gotta ask real quick, who's gonna be the random scrub Heat killer tomorrow for Heat and Wolves?
Oh man, I don't
Oh
even know
man.
if I've watched enough Wolves to know who's on their bench. Because
J J
I can only name their quote unquote their big. Do they still have Ricky Rubio? Is he still doing the damn thing with them?
Yes, I believe
Yeah, they
so.
do.
Yeah, Rubio will probably drop like 30 on us.
Yeah. At least it's not.
Oh
If it's
my
not
God.
Malone,
My vote.
I got Jade McDaniels for 500. Alex, I got Jade McDaniels for 500. Let's go. Jade McDaniels is gonna
I
pop off. Watch. I
I
mean,
got
I'm
Nas Reed.
saying, yeah, Cat might be out, right? Cat might be out. He was out last game, and Nas Reed and the big guys Hernan Gomez or not. I mean, whatever the big guy is that backs him up. His name sounds like the guy from Charlotte. They were backing him up, and he wasn't there. Towns wasn't. I don't know if he's gonna be back next game or not, but I know he wasn't there last night.
mm-hmm. Right. Obviously we're expecting a Heat win. At the same time, this is a Timberwolves team who, in the past, have always played hard against Miami. I don't understand their obsession with us.
If
How
we don't
long?
beat the Timberwolves, I'm quitting this podcast. I'm out.
I mean, how
Don't
long
be
has
so
it?
quick to say that because we could lose to anybody.
All
Uh,
right. If we don't beat the Timberwolves, bro, I don't know how much more gusto I got in me.
because it's been like what 2018 or so. No, not 2018. It's like I don't know. It's been like a couple years now since we last beat them. So let's end that
Yeah, they're
streak.
so salty about Jimmy.
3 years, Jimmy's in their head, bro.
Yeah, they
Bad
always want to put
teammate.
out that best effort because
What
they
a
were all
bad
criticized about
teammate.
Jimmy Butler because Jimmy basically criticized all his teammates in Minnesota for lacking effort. So they
Because they were
just come out and
lazy.
play against the Heat and show the best effort.
Yeah. Oh, Jimmy. I think Jimmy might show some effort on one leg against those clowns.
Jeez.
For sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if Anthony Edwards doesn't know who Jimmy Butler is.
Yo,
Oh
They
yeah,
don't
honestly,
know.
Anthony Edwards is great.
They don't know who real Jimmy Butler is. Hey Joel, throw a question over to Tubin real quick because I want to hear his insights. We only have one podcast with him, so I want to appreciate and the knowledge he has to offer us.
yeah. So Tobin, so just one thing because obviously everyone's panicking because this past couple weeks hasn't been easy for Heat fans. Like obviously losing the past 2 games, dealing with this tough schedule too. Having to play 8 games in 12 nights. Is there any speech you want? Not like a speech, but anything you want to tell Heat Nation just to calm them down?
Um, well, I just think you know what I really just want. The thing that's really annoyed me about some of the Heat fans, and I love a lot of them, but holy shit, some of them are so soft. Like it really like first of all, I saw like something today put out by like Bam was talking about. Bam was asked a question last night about the team's record and if he thought that they were a better team than what their record showed. And he said something to the effect of, I do think that we can be a better team. And people just like I post, do Zoom calls and I'm on them, and people like say it's enough time to talk. It's about action. And I'm like, he's literally there to talk. He is not there. He gets fined. So I don't understand why people get so mad at players for answering questions. First of all, they're all very similar questions. People who cover the team, they're not asking like these in-depth new things. So like, what do you want Bam to say? You want him to go on to these press conferences and be like, no, we've been such a huge disappointment all year, and we're never going to get it together. And then he would get hosed down for shitting on his team. I don't understand that from Heat fans who also, you know, and I love Bam. Like I was on Bam before he blew up because I had my family was a huge Kentucky fan, so I got immediate great reviews when he came to the Heat. And to think what he's done in these last couple of years, I think he's just taken what a marvelous leap the guy's taken. And you still got to remember he's 24 years old, was asked to be, the guy who defends and rebounds and spots for guys, and now is kind of molding into this leader, go-to guy, all that type of stuff. That also still takes time for adjustment. I just feel like people are going to this mode where they're really shitting on him over these last couple of games, and I think it's a horrible look for the Heat fan. I think that if you're going to be pissed at a lot of people this year, you could be pissed at Tyler's inconsistency. You could be pissed at coronavirus and the schedule. You could be disappointed in Goran Dragic making 19 million and maybe looking a little bit over the hill. Duncan Robinson taking three quarters of the season to look like Duncan Robinson again. But the guy who goes out, who's played every single game, plays through injury, plays hard as hell on both sides of the court, is only 6'9", and people treat him like he's supposed to be 7'3" out rebounding everybody. I just think that I just don't get that over the last couple days. I guess it's because he got the big contract, and I get that that's where people's attention goes. But I just think that the guy is tremendous, and I don't think Heat Nation should be shitting on him or the effort that he gives. I do think that there's still got to be a check that, hey, the guy is 24 years old. He really doesn't have anybody setting him up on the team because they don't have a point guard, as you said, who's really facilitating for him. And you have the coach who has to come out in the post. Maybe we should get this guy as one of our best players. So that would be my little PSA: is stop being such dickheads to Bam. Secondly, it's a 2-game losing streak. They've been very inconsistent this year, but don't forget, gentlemen swept the Bucks' ass. You really trust the Sixers? Do you really trust the Sixers? Really? Let me get this straight. So Joel Embiid, who had his tears wiped away after his team got bounced. Ben Simmons, who everybody in Heat Nation has made fun of for years. Now you're scared of these guys? Really? That's what's going to happen? And then the Nets, okay, great. You have Kevin Durant. He's on rubber band legs. You got James Harden out here. Nobody chokes more than this guy in the playoffs. And then Kyrie Irving, Kyrie Irving had another disappearing act when he was in Boston. Congratulations, Kyrie Irving. You hit a clutch shot when it was tied in the finals 6 years ago. Bravo to you. What have you done without LeBron James? Nothing.
One shot.
So all that being said is the East can kick rocks. It's there for the taking. And we just got to get through this tumultuous, terrible next 17 games, get into the playoffs, be a 6 seed or whatever. I'll take the Nets in the first round. I'll take the Bucks in the first round. I'll take the Sixers in the first. I don't care which match it is. I still like the Heat in that series. I'll take Heat 5, and the rest of them can all go to hell.
Middle fingers up. Middle fingers up. Go Heat.
That was great.
Joe, can I get an amen? Joe K. Jacob. Amen. Everybody. Amen.
Hey, my man just he just pulled a Stone Cold Steve Austin on Heat fans.
I felt like he was drinking 5 beers at the same time. Holy crap.
I love it.
That's funny. Good.
That was awesome, man. Hey, I really wanted to touch on this for 1 second that you mentioned about Bam. People really give Bam a hard time, right? They give him a really hard time. He just became a full-time starter last season. And that season, they made the NBA Finals. He became a full-time – I'm going to say this again so people can understand. He became a full-time starter 1 season ago. And he became an all-star in that season. And his team went to the NBA Finals that season. Give the guy a break. I don't understand this.
Perfect, Clutch. Amen. Again, amen. Yeah, everybody scrutinizes him. He's improved his field goal percentage over the last couple of games. He's still played great defense. He's obviously the future focal point of our offense, but right now he is still being second fiddle to Jimmy, but he is doing a great job at it. He just needs to be a little bit more aggressive. I think we're okay. I digress a little bit on my previous talk about us in the playoffs. I was just upset. I hope we can get Vic back. I don't know. Hopefully this team has all the signs of a championship. It's just I just wish we were healthy all the time and we had our whole team together all the time at one point, and then we could see what we really could do.
Yeah, Bam, and listen, Bam has been great this season. Like people don't, he just jumped up from a 15 point per game scorer this season to a 19 point per game scorer. That's a big jump. People, it's just 4 points, but no, that's a lot for a guy like that. And people got to realize, Bam has never, in his adult basketball career, has never been the go-to scoring option. In Kentucky, he sure damn wasn't. Early in his Heat career, he sure damn wasn't. We had Dwayne Wade, we had other stuff, other players that could do it. Have Dragic. So it's gonna take some time, but when the time comes, when he finally gets it, Bam's gonna be amazing. So just take it easy. That's all I got to say on that.
It was Calipari's part, not including him. He didn't want him to shoot. He didn't want him to run point. He only wanted to dribble handoffs, which is just like what we're running now. And I feel like by us not utilizing him to his full potential, we're kind of mirroring how Calipari used him at Kentucky with not using his skill set as far as running point and being able to do more than dribble handoffs with everything else. And I know we like Cream's players from Marquette, which is great because I love them too. But I honestly think, and Rally's from UK too, which I know that's Hero Bam, everybody else. And I'm a Duke fan, so I hated these fools in college, but I love them and I appreciate what they have to offer. But I just wish we utilized their skill set and talent more than we do now. That's it.
And then one more thing I want to get on before we close out today's pod, and it's only right we talk about this with you here, Mr. Tobin. And let's talk about none other than the JIMVP propaganda. So obviously, Jimmy Butler has been balling out this year, and obviously you have people who still bring up guys like James Harden and Nikola Jokic. Yesterday, what was interesting was during the broadcast on Bally Sports Sun, you had this dude Eric Reed who said that he thought that Rudy Gobert should be MVP.
Yeah, that
Okay.
broke my heart. Like no one's gonna pick Jimmy Butler. Like really?
We got two
My
defensive
God.
players better than players better than the Baguette Bayambo. Like, come on.
Like literally, I was so shocked by that. Like, okay, if they didn't want to pick Jimmy, I mean that sucked, but okay. But Rudy Gobert, that yo, I had to take a picture of that when I saw it. But with
Yeah.
that being said, so let's talk about it real quick. Because we need to get that JIMVP propaganda up and going as much as we can. So we'll start it off with you, Mr. Tobin. Can you just educate? Because we do have some non-Heat fans who do listen to this. Can you educate them on why Jimmy Butler is the obvious choice for MVP?
Obvious choice is, first of all, he's one of the best two-way players in the game. Everybody gets so dazzled by all this scoring. Ooh, look at James Harden. He's putting up big regular season points. Like he hasn't been doing that all the time. And then Nikola Jokic, be honest with yourself. You don't want to give the award to Nikola Jokic. Like, first of all, you got everybody in the league was like, oh, who's going to be MVP? And they're going Joel Embiid, and he couldn't stay healthy. And then it was like LeBron. We got to give it to LeBron. You honestly probably would give it to Giannis if it wasn't if he wasn't a flaming choke artist last year, thanks to Jimmy Butler. So you can't give it to him. And then you're gonna do the same story, different side for James Harden, who wore a fat suit to get out of Brooklyn. So really, if you start kicking them off the ladder, like you get to Jimmy Butler. Now the only thing that is hurting, and it is a horrible thing on this case, is his team's record. But the record with him is very, very good. A lot of that record is a detriment of the fact that he got coronavirus. We are in the corona season. So really shouldn't count in my eyes that he's out because of coronavirus, a communicable disease that you never know what corner it's hiding around. We're gonna penalize him for this. So all of that being said is, the other choices suck. The only guy who I think right now has a good argument against him is Nikola Jokic, but nobody really wants to give it to Nikola Jokic. You guys, he was like your fifth choice. Everybody's just ending up be like, I guess we'll give it to Jokic because Denver is has got a decent record, but Jokic didn't get the Rona. Jimmy got the Rona. So
It's like
you're gonna punish the
Schaefer,
guy?
just tall. You get a good record in the West. You're fat and healthy, tall and out of shape, and then all of a sudden you're in the raw for DM's
Plus half
defensive
of his
player of the
game,
year. I'm
and
talking
half
about
of
Gobert and Jokic, obviously.
and both of those guys get to play at high altitude, which is basically like cheating. Jimmy has to play at sea
Yeah,
level,
it's
which
the
is
best
much
thing.
harder.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Joe,
it's
put that in
cheating.
the title. Put that in the
It's
title, Joe.
it's just a fact. So
That's funny.
you know, I think we've just really eliminated everybody, and really everybody's got to hop on the JIMVP train. I'm happy that the Heat finally got on board. They were there a couple weeks late.
MVP, MVP,
JIMVP. Yeah, were they a couple weeks
MVP,
late? Yeah,
MVP,
MVP.
they were a couple
MVP.
weeks late, but better late than never. So hop on the train. Woo, woo, about the
Hey,
JIMVP.
Joe, go to your MVP with the stuff with Tobin because he's lit. He's the one that started it. He's the innovator. If anybody doesn't know, the guest we have on our pod is the innovator of the hashtag JIMVP, who is the absolute man, Mr. Tobin. And Joel, the host of the show, you tell him, bro.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then let's see. And then also another thing to hit on is I feel like not only has Jimmy Butler been disrespected in the MVP race, but we gotta talk about Bam real quick and the disrespect he's getting. Because tell me how Rudy Gobert is considered a better defender than Bam. I mean, seriously. Like, Tobin, what do you think about that?
I mean, Rudy Gobert's a one-trick pony. Like nobody likes these centers anyway. They're all getting fossilized out of the sport. Bam's the future of it, and the other thing that's great about him is no campaigning. We got to do the campaign. These guys won't do it for themselves. Meanwhile, you got Rudy Gobert and Ben Simmons shamelessly begging Rachel Nichols for interviews. I mean, I dare you to bring up the MVP conversation to Jimmy Butler. He'd slap you through the screen. It would never be a thing. That's the way I like it. Humble and Heat culture all the way. And you got Rudy Gobert who will cry if he doesn't make the All-Star team in front of cameras. Very embarrassing. And then Ben Simmons is sitting up. How many interviews are you going to do, Ben Simmons? And how many times are you going to make Doc Rivers say, "Oh, I think that Ben Simmons should be the defensive player of the year"? It's just shameless and embarrassing for both of them. So yeah, Bam isn't sitting here patting himself on the back, asking, "Oh, please go vote for me for this award." But you know what it is. If it came down to it, and you need somebody to really get you a stop at the end of these games, you're going to go with Ben Simmons, never had an important stop in his life, Rudy Gobert, who gets bounced from big games, or you're going to go with the guy who actually shut down the Eastern Conference Finals game by himself, stopping one of the best players in the game with his palm. Or you're going to
Just
go
ask
with the fact
Jason
that
Tatum.
or you're going to go with the fact that he could go and lock your ass up at the start of possession. Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, all these guys, he's not afraid to go out and defend. He's more versatile than them, and it's just the fact that he doesn't have these whiny fan bases and these begging, pathetic interviews like these other guys do, going on the jump. Please, Ray, please interview me about it. Enough of it, Ben Simmons. I'm tired of his ass.
That's the best. That's the best. This is the best take ever in any Miami stuff. Hey, hashtag guess whatever. That's the best one. That's
Yeah, the Heat don't
awesome.
have to do anything, right? Like Bam, Jimmy, they don't have to do anything. They just got to beat Bam and Jimmy, and they should earn that. They let their actions speak for them. They don't have to go on these shows and complain. I should be the MVP. I should be the defensive player of the year. Jimmy's averaging his he's averaging a career high in field goal percentage, in rebounds per game, in assists per game, and he's leading the league in steals. And you don't see him bragging about it. You don't. Jimmy just lets his play do the talking. That's why he should be recognized as one of the best. Bam, he doesn't talk about, hey, look at me. I'm so much better than last year. I'm a beast and I can lock down your point guard. He doesn't do that. right? So that's the kind of stuff you like to see. Guys that let their actions speak for them. And it's awesome to have players like that.
Amazing.
Right.
Amazing.
hmm So, anyways, moving forward, is there anything else you guys feel like we should hit on before we call it an episode?
Yeah, I have one thing. I want to ask Tobin, how did you come up with the JIMVP? Like, where did that originate from? And how did you turn that into a trend, which is obviously a huge trend here now, and we're grateful to have you in the show also, big time. And it's just very cool being a Heat fan to have somebody with your knowledge and with your whatever, with your foresight with how you do this, is becoming a trend. How did that happen?
I always like to try and get on things before they're a thing because, it's just, first of all, sometimes I do it just to make my co-host a little bit crazy. My co-host is Leroy Horde, who's
Mine is too. Mine's Joel K. Jacob.
so I like to make him a little bit nutty and come at him with a take that maybe is a little bit homerish, but I also believe in my heart and soul. And then the Jim VP thing, yeah, we were just talking. I kind of like went at it on my radio show like it was a presidential campaign because nobody was talking about him. And I announced his candidacy. Leroy thought it was dumb, and then I just started just bombarding him with hashtags like during the games just to kind of annoy him. And then people were kind of picking up on it with that. And then other people were getting on. But, he was having a really good run. It was during I think their 6-game win streak where it really really was starting to pick up steam. And then the money was when Bam dropped it during one of the press conferences. I was like, oh, this thing's legit now. I said, if Bam's dropping it,
Tobin, you're famous. Tobin, you're famous, boy.
I was like, all right, we got something here. And, I wish that the Heat had ran with it right then and there, but they kind of took a couple weeks to do it. Because if they would have, I think it would have had even more steam behind it. But I appreciate that they got on it about a couple weeks ago.
It's sick, Tubman. Thank you, bro. Like you started a movement that is so strong, regardless of what happens with our season this year. That's a strong movement, and that's a very strong thing. You even had that Jim VP translate into Bam DPO year, like the defensive player of the year. I've seen that and stuff. So that's just mad cool. Just mad glad to have you here. Thank you for all your takes and stuff.
Yeah,
Man. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
My guy Tobin's had a lot. He's found Duncan. He's found Bam, basically. Kemp Jordan. He's broke a lot of stuff first. Love to see it.
Yeah. No, 100%. You're an innovator. You're an innovator. You're a pioneer in this everything. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's awesome.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me. All right.
All right, thank you so much, man. And you definitely need to be in the Miami Heat history books moving forward. They need to have you in there very soon. So
we'll submit you in there.
Yeah. With that being said, so once again, thank you, Mr. Brendan Tobin, for hopping on today's episode. You guys can catch him on 790 The Ticket on Tobin and Leroy's show. And we'll see you guys next time with a brand new episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Heat vs. the World _. And we out.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time with a brand new episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast.